Starting a major change in life doesn't require a big event, a powerful push, or a perfect opportunity. In fact, to change your life, you only need one decision. Yes, just one simple decision, but one powerful enough to reshape your future. No one can change you except yourself, and that decision begins with you. Every morning you wake up, you realize today could be a turning point in your journey. It's not because the world outside has changed, but because you, deep within your soul, have decided not to accept life as it was. And when you are truly determined, you'll realize that change doesn't need to start with a big event, but rather from seemingly small things that lead to profound transformations. The world doesn't change when you wake up, but you, through the small decisions you make every day, will make the world change. That's the power of decision making. You've probably had moments where you felt not ready to begin, or thought you needed everything to be perfect before you could act. But that's a big mistake. You don't need perfection to start. In fact, action is the first step, and perfection will come after you begin. When you start, you'll learn, grow, and realize that it's through the process of action that you discover what is right and what needs to change. Perfection is not what you need from the start. Action is the most important thing. You might not have enough knowledge, not enough confidence, but if you begin, confidence and knowledge will come gradually. You might think that small steps don't matter, but I'll tell you they are the steps that create big changes. Every day, every moment, you can choose. Choose action over procrastination. Choose learning over waiting. Choose progress over standing still. And every decision, no matter how small, has value. That's the power of a seemingly unimportant decision. One decision will create habits, habits will create results, and results will create a better version of yourself. To change, you don't need to seek big opportunities, dramatic events. They don't come immediately. But opportunity always lies in the small actions you take every day. You may not see the result right away, but change is happening quietly. That's how progress works. That's how I built SpaceX, Tesla, and other projects. That's how I achieved goals that seemed impossible. By continually making decisions, continuously acting, and persevering. I know, acting isn't always easy. There are days you feel tired, times when you don't feel ready, but that's when you need to act the most. Because when you act, you build inner strength. When you persist, you'll realize that change doesn't come from always feeling ready, but from acting even when you don't feel like it. That's the strength you need. Strength doesn't come from feelings, but from continuous action. And you're not alone in this journey. I want to invite you, if you feel that these messages have value, don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button. Let me help you make the right decisions, take persistent actions, and take firm steps. Let's share this journey together so every day, every decision of yours will bring you closer to your goal. You don't need to wait for motivation. Motivation will come when you begin to act. That's the power of a simple decision, and that's the first step to becoming the best version of yourself. Don't wait, don't procrastinate, start today, choose action now. And when you begin, remember that every day is an opportunity for you to become stronger, more resilient. Choose action, choose decision, and choose change. If you see value in what I share, don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to walk together on this path, step by step, always moving forward. Progress doesn't come from perfection. That's something I always believe. In fact, if you wait for everything to be perfect before starting, you'll never start. Perfection is a trap, and if you keep waiting for it, you'll get stuck in an endless loop. I've learned that action is the key. Every step, no matter how small or imperfect, is part of the process, and each of those steps will gradually lead you to greater results than you can imagine. When I started with SpaceX, Tesla, or any project, I didn't have a perfect plan, I didn't have all the answers, I didn't have perfection, but I had determination and I had action. We didn't start with perfect rockets or flawless electric cars. We started with prototypes, unfinished products, and mistakes. Those mistakes were an essential part of the progress journey. I understand that progress doesn't come from doing everything perfectly from the start. Progress comes from continuous improvement, from learning through failures, and from never stopping, even if the results aren't as expected. You don't need to do everything perfectly. You just need to start and keep improving little by little. Think about the Tesla electric car. When we first tested it, the product wasn't the perfect car you see today. It was an imperfect product with flaws, issues that needed to be resolved. But because we didn't stop and kept improving, these cars became a symbol of innovation in the automotive industry. If we had waited until the car was perfect before starting production, Tesla might not have even existed. Progress comes from continuous action, even if that action isn't perfect. You may be tempted to think that to succeed, you have to do everything right the first time. But in reality, perfection is the enemy of progress. If you keep chasing perfection, you'll miss the opportunity to act. You'll skip the mistakes, the valuable lessons that can only be learned through action. What you need is not to fear failure, not to fear imperfection. When I work, I don't look for perfection. I look for improvement and progress, even if they are small or imperfect. The important thing is to start and maintain the habit of action. When you begin acting, you create momentum. Every step, every decision, even if imperfect, creates movement forward. After each step, you learn what needs improvement and you'll adjust your direction. But that only happens if you start. I never wait for everything to be perfect because I know perfection will never come unless I begin working immediately. Once you act, you'll learn that progress isn't a sudden change. It's a series of small changes. Each one, no matter how insignificant, will accumulate into something grand. Looking back at my development with SpaceX or Tesla, I realized that big steps only come from the small steps I continuously took. The first rocket launch wasn't a perfect event, but it was the first step, and it created opportunities for the next launches for even bigger successes. I want you to understand that when you set a goal for yourself, don't let perfection stop you. Don't think everything has to be perfectly arranged for you to begin. Just start. Just act, even if it may not be perfect. From that action, you'll begin to learn, and from there, perfection will gradually form. But perfection will never come if you don't act. It's a closed loop. Act first, then you'll see the improvement. So, why do we always wait for perfection? Because we fear failure, because we worry that we won't succeed if everything isn't right from the start. But the truth is, this fear only slows us down, blocking our own progress. Fearing failure is limiting yourself. The failures you experience on your journey will be valuable lessons that help you grow. In fact, failure is what shows you how to succeed. If you don't try, you'll never know what you're capable of. Progress is not about going straight to the goal without stumbling. Progress comes from overcoming challenges, from facing mistakes and learning from them. Remember that perfection is not the ultimate goal, but the continuous process of learning and improving. The small, imperfect steps are the building blocks for great successes. Never let perfection stop you from acting. Remember that if you want to achieve great things, you have to be ready to start, ready to accept imperfect steps. Perfection will never come unless you start. And when you begin, you'll see that real progress comes from small, persistent steps, unafraid of failure. Take action today without waiting for everything to be perfect. Progress comes from action. When you act, you create opportunities, possibilities you wouldn't have if you waited for perfection. Success doesn't come from doing everything right, but from never stopping, even when the actions aren't perfect. Just start, and from there, you'll see perfection slowly form. Small actions are the foundation of lasting change. People often think that big change must come from big decisions, from breakthrough events. But in reality, true change doesn't come from leaps. It comes from the small steps you take every day, from actions that may seem insignificant, but create a profound impact over the long term. I've learned this from my own experiences. When I started SpaceX, Tesla, and other projects, I didn't have a perfect plan. I didn't have all the answers. In fact, I only had small steps, small decisions every day, small mistakes from which I learned. And it was these small actions that created the big change. For example, when SpaceX first attempted to launch a rocket, we failed. The rocket system didn't work as planned, but that wasn't the end. That was the beginning of a series of small actions we continued to take every day. We didn't give up. We didn't wait for a perfect opportunity. We just kept improving. We studied the mistakes, learned lessons, and improved persistently. With each failure, we got closer to our goal, and eventually, after a series of trials and failures, we achieved significant success. Similarly, with Tesla, we didn't start with perfect electric cars. The first cars had many flaws. They weren't as beautiful or as powerful as traditional cars, but we worked relentlessly to improve them. Small changes in design, technology, and production created a big difference. Change doesn't always come from a leap. Instead, it comes from consistently taking small actions, persistently improving over time. Just like in personal life, big change doesn't come from a powerful push. It comes from the small things you do every day, things that may seem unimportant but gradually have a widespread impact. The small habits you build today will determine the person you become in the future. It might be waking up 15 minutes earlier to work, or instead of scrolling through your phone, you spend time learning something new. It might be keeping promises to yourself, even if it's just waking up on time. These small actions will create a long-term path, building profound change within you. Certainly, you won't notice the change immediately, but if you persist with those small actions, you will feel the difference in how you think, how you act, and how you face challenges. Every small action will be a building block in the foundation of long-term change. The important thing is that you never stop doing them, even if they seem insignificant right now. When you start building habits from small actions, you'll realize one important thing. Change doesn't always have to be loud or big. It can be quiet and humble, but when you look back after a while, you'll realize you've come a long way. Small actions will gradually change the way you perceive the world, the way you face yourself, and the way you solve problems in life. I'm not saying that you only need to do small things without big decisions. Of course, big decisions can change your life, but small actions are the key to maintaining that change. When you consistently and persistently do small things, you'll build consistency and inner strength, and that's what you need to overcome greater challenges in the future. Think about the small changes you can start today. It might be starting a habit of reading every day, or dedicating time to exercise. It could be learning something new every day, or simply taking a little time to reflect on your goals and the steps needed to achieve them. These small actions will be a solid foundation for long-term change. And if you persist with those actions, you'll feel a clear difference in your life. Change is not a sudden event, it's the result of a process, and that process starts from small actions. Every small action you take every day, even without applause or recognition, is contributing to a big difference. That's why successful people don't just do big things, but also focus on doing small, persistent actions and improving them every day. To achieve big change, you have to start with small things. Don't think that small actions are unimportant. They are the bricks that create a solid foundation for big change. That's how I worked with SpaceX, Tesla, and other projects. That's how successful people take one step at a time without neglecting any small details. The persistence in small actions is what determines the ultimate success. So focus on small actions every day. Don't let them pass meaninglessly. Every small action, whether simple or humble, can become an important step in your journey. And when you maintain those actions, you'll see the gradual formation of change, from the smallest things to the greatest results. Progress may not be visible to anyone, but you can feel it. That's one of the most important things I've learned on my journey. Most people don't recognize progress as it happens. They look at the end result, and only when they see the big success do they realize the long, challenging journey behind it. But in reality, true progress is not always clear to others. It's something you can feel from within, something only you know when you look back at what you've been through. Think about the development process of SpaceX. When I started, we didn't have the advanced rockets we have today. We faced a lot of failures. Every test resulted in painful failures, and no one saw the small progress we made every day. These advancements were not recognized by the media or the public, but we could feel them. When a rocket launches and returns successfully, it's not the result of one major breakthrough, but the outcome of hundreds, thousands of hours of work, repairs, improvements, and learning from failures. When we developed Tesla, people only saw the final car, but few knew that the small progress we made with each version of the electric car was crucial. An electric car at first may not have been perfect, but the change came from us continually improving every detail. The first cars may not have been perfect in performance or design, but with every step, every day, those advancements gradually turned into a car that now is recognized as one of the top products in the automotive industry. And I, along with my colleagues, felt these advancements with every step, even though no one could see them from the outside. Progress doesn't always come with noise. It can be quiet, the small but steady changes you make every day. You don't need immediate recognition from others because you know you're on the right track. Maybe no one notices those small changes, but you will feel them when you look at yourself. A clearer mind, better emotional control, or simply keeping more promises to yourself. That is progress. Even if no one sees it, you feel it. Change doesn't happen in one day or one night. It's a long and gradual process. The journey of building Tesla or SpaceX wasn't an event where a breakthrough suddenly brought success. You need to be patient, and most importantly, you need to feel the change every day. When you work, when you improve, when you persist with your goals, you begin to notice the change within. These are advancements that no one can see immediately, but they will create a significant difference in the future. Certainly, at times, you might feel like you're moving slowly. You might feel everything is going too slow compared to your expectations, and you might feel stuck. But I'll tell you that small advances, even if not clear at the moment, are the building blocks for significant change in the future. Progress doesn't always come with immediate success. Sometimes it's the slow and patient steps that bring long-lasting results. So focus on continuing to act even when you don't see results immediately. Keep improving every day, even if no one sees it. Every time you overcome a small challenge, every time you learn from a mistake, that's a major step in your journey. These changes don't need to be recognized immediately. You just need to know that you're on the right track and making progress. I've gone through days that seemed to have no results when I was developing SpaceX and Tesla, but every day I felt progress, an engine improvement, a design enhancement, a lesson learned from failure. Gradually, these small advances accumulated and led to great success. And the important thing is, I felt this change. Even though not everyone recognized it, I knew I was getting closer to my goal. One thing I learned from this process is real change comes from within. It comes from your ability to stay true to your goals even when no one sees what you're doing. It comes from your persistence and not giving up even if the results aren't immediate. And most importantly, this change comes from you beginning to feel the progress, even if it's just small steps. You may not see the results right now, but don't worry, you're progressing. You're working, you're learning, you're improving. The small actions you take every day are creating a much bigger change than you think. And when you look back a few months, a year later, you'll realize you've come a long way from where you started. Progress is not something you can see immediately, but if you continue acting, continue improving, and never give up, you will feel it. And when you feel this change, you'll realize you've gone farther than you thought. Progress doesn't need to be loud, doesn't need immediate recognition. It comes from within you, from the small, persistent steps, and from never stopping. That's how you change your life. Don't wait for a big opportunity. Focus on the small actions. Opportunities don't always come from sudden events or big pushes. True change and success come from the small decisions and actions you take every day. This is something I learned from years of hard work at SpaceX and Tesla. During the most challenging times, when those around me thought success would come from big breakthroughs, I realized that only persistent and consistent actions make a real difference. Imagine you are building a rocket. You can't expect it to launch on the first try, but if you continually improve every part, every process, you'll see the result in the end. One failure doesn't mean giving up. It means finding the cause and improving every detail. And each improvement, even if it's a small step, will gradually create a complete system. That's how real progress happens. With Tesla, it was the same. I remember back when we first started producing electric cars, the first cars had many issues. No one saw the progress when we improved each wheel, every interior detail, every battery system. But all these small changes were the foundation that helped us develop and gradually perfect the car we have today. A perfect car doesn't come from one leap, but from focusing on improving every small detail continuously and persistently. In fact, progress and success don't always come from giant leaps, but from small, consistent, repetitive changes. In work and life, we often tend to wait for a big opportunity, a breakthrough event. But opportunities don't come from waiting, they come from paying attention and acting on the smallest things. I've seen this clearly throughout my journey of building my projects. A big decision can change the course, but it also needs to be supported by thousands of small actions. You can't just sit and wait for a big opportunity while ignoring the small ones every day. These opportunities are the small actions you take to get closer to your goal. They don't need to be big or noisy, but they are the essential steps in your journey. A clear example is when we developed the rocket reusability system at SpaceX. It was a great idea, but it couldn't be implemented immediately. We had to improve every small part of the system, from engines, rocket structure, to control software. Every test, whether a failure or success, was a small action toward the ultimate goal. If we only focused on the big goal and ignored these small steps, I believe we wouldn't have succeeded in reusing rockets. Never think that small actions are unimportant. They are the foundation for achieving big goals. A big goal can't be completed with just one leap. It's built from small steps, from consistent and persistent changes. Every small action you take brings you closer to what you want. Don't wait for a big opportunity to act. Start with the small things and keep taking action every day. Sometimes you won't see the results immediately. You may feel like your small efforts aren't bringing instant results, and sometimes you may feel tired when there's no clear change. But remember, these small actions are creating a change that can't be seen right away. This change will gradually accumulate and eventually create a big difference. That's why I always emphasize that you don't need to wait for a big opportunity to act. You need to start with small actions and keep doing them every day. One day you'll realize that these small actions have created a big change in your life and work. Change comes from being persistent and continuing to act every day, even when the results aren't immediate. These small actions are how you build a strong habit, an unwavering persistence. These habits will create the difference in the long term. If you focus on small actions every day, you will not only change your life, but also create a solid long-term path to achieve your big goal. Instead of waiting for a big opportunity, you should look for the small opportunities every day and make the most of them. Keep taking action, keep improving every small detail. Every step will help you build a solid foundation for even greater success later. And when you look back, you'll realize that these small, persistent actions created the big change in your life and career. Never think that small actions have no value. Every action, no matter how small, brings long-term value. You may not see the results right away, but these changes will gradually form and ultimately lead to a big turning point in your life. The small actions you take today are the foundation for future success. So don't wait for a big opportunity. Act now, from the small things. Don't wait until you feel ready to take action. This is an important perspective I followed throughout my journey, whether building SpaceX, Tesla, or other projects. In reality, you will never feel completely ready. If you wait for the perfect feeling, you'll wait forever. The truth is, none of us feel fully prepared when starting something new. But if you don't act now, you'll forever be stuck in a cycle of procrastination. When I started SpaceX, nothing was perfect. People said that launching a rocket into orbit was impossible, and I didn't have enough resources to do it. But I took action even without a perfect plan. I only had determination and a willingness to face failure. Instead of waiting for everything to be perfect, I decided to start and learn from mistakes. Every failure wasn't the end, but an opportunity to improve. I didn't wait until I felt ready. I acted and moved forward from there. The important thing isn't perfect preparation, but the ability to start. That's how successful people differ. They don't wait for an ideal moment, they act even when they don't feel ready. Things will never be perfect from the start, but if you don't begin, you'll never know what will happen. When I built Tesla, I didn't wait until electric cars were perfect to launch them. We faced many difficulties, but we didn't wait for everything to be ready. We took action, learned from mistakes, and constantly improved. I've seen too many people delay action because they think they're not ready. They wait until they have all the information, all the knowledge, or all the confidence. But when you do that, you'll never act. When I started SpaceX, I didn't have all the answers. We didn't have all the necessary technology, but I knew that to move forward, I had to start. You can't wait forever because opportunities will pass you by. I decided to act even though I didn't know how things would turn out. Certainly, when you start a big project, you will feel many things are not perfect, and you won't be able to prepare everything. But the important thing is to take action. You can't wait for everything to be perfect before you begin. Perfection will never come if you don't start somewhere. That's how you create real change in your life and career. Instead of waiting for the feeling of readiness, you need to act and let those actions lead you. I didn't wait until I felt perfect to start working. I started, and from there I learned many valuable lessons. These lessons didn't come from books or courses, but from making mistakes, failing, and learning from those failures. That's what many people don't realize. They think they have to know everything before taking action. But the truth is, you can never prepare everything. You'll never feel fully confident to start, but you still have to act, even if you're not ready. Action doesn't mean you have all the answers immediately. It means you'll figure out the answers as you go. If you keep waiting until you feel ready, you'll miss opportunities. When I started SpaceX and Tesla, I didn't have enough resources. We had to find ways to do everything ourselves, sometimes using unconventional methods. But we took action and didn't wait for perfection. That was the key to our development. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll wait forever. Action is the only thing that helps you create change. Small steps, even if imperfect, will take you where you want to go. You'll never have all the tools you need, but you'll develop them as you work. Don't wait until you feel fully confident, because confidence will come after you start taking action. Think about it this way. When you start a project, you might face difficulties, you might fail, but if you don't begin, you'll never know what you can achieve. Don't let fear or feeling unprepared stop you. Start today, right now, even if you don't feel perfect. That's how you create real change. When you act, you'll see opportunities you would never see if you just stand still and wait. I will never wait until I feel ready. I will never wait until I have all the answers. I will act, and from there I will learn and progress. You should do the same. Don't wait any longer. Start now. As soon as you have an idea, a goal, a passion. Preparation will come during the process of action, not before you begin. The truth is, you will never be perfect before you start. None of us are. But if you act now, you will find that perfection truly comes from the process of acting, not from perfect preparation before you begin. Act when you feel unready. Only then can you truly progress and develop. Perfection is not necessary, only commitment. This is the core principle I have applied throughout my journey of starting businesses and building great companies like SpaceX and Tesla. We often become obsessed with perfection, thinking that everything must be perfect for success to happen. But let me tell you, perfection is a trap. It prevents you from acting and moving forward. The truth is, what you truly need is commitment. A commitment not to give up, a commitment to improve every day, and a commitment to the ultimate goal, no matter the challenges or difficulties. When I started with SpaceX, we didn't have a perfect rocket from the beginning. I remember very clearly the early days when we tested and failed many times. Nothing was easy, but what mattered wasn't that we failed, but that we never gave up. We committed to doing everything we could to keep the company moving forward, improving step by step, even though they weren't perfect. I never waited for everything to be ready or perfect before taking action. I started and kept improving. That's commitment. Commitment doesn't mean you have to do everything immediately or do everything perfectly. Commitment means you don't give up when things aren't going your way, when you face difficulties, when you don't see results right away. If you keep committing to the goal, even when you face failure or obstacles, you will always move forward. Success is not the result of achieving perfection, but the result of perseverance and an unwavering commitment to the goal. This is also true for Tesla. When I started, electric cars weren't a popular choice. Facing skepticism from the market, difficulties in production and development, I didn't give up. I committed not only to Tesla, but to the future of the automotive industry. The first electric cars weren't perfect, but I didn't care about perfection right away. What I cared about was moving forward every day, improving little by little. And that's why Tesla today has become a major name in the electric car industry. But commitment is not something that can be measured immediately. It's not a result you can see right away. Commitment is a process. It's persistence. It's not giving up no matter how hard things get. The important thing is not to achieve perfection overnight, but to maintain your commitment to the bigger goal despite challenges. When you commit, you are ready to face failure, learn from it, and keep improving. That's the power of commitment. When I started, I didn't have all the answers. We didn't have enormous resources. We didn't have everything in hand. But we had one thing: commitment. Commitment to do everything we could to reach our goal. And it was that commitment that helped us overcome every difficulty. Commitment is what helped us push through dark days, overcome failures, and work tirelessly to move forward. Maybe you're at a point in your journey feeling that you're not capable enough, not ready enough, or not perfect enough to achieve your goal. I want to tell you that you don't need to be perfect. You just need to commit. Commit to acting every day, commit to learning from failure, and commit to never giving up. When you commit, you're not just building a habit, you're building a foundation for long-term success. And this commitment doesn't just apply to work, but to your personal life as well. Think about the goals you've set for yourself. Maybe you want to improve your health, learn a new skill, or become a better version of yourself. These goals don't have to be perfect from the start. You just need to commit. Commit to acting, commit to improving every day, and commit to not giving up when things get tough. Looking back on my journey, from the early days with SpaceX and Tesla, I realized that the most important thing wasn't whether I had enough perfection from the start, but that I committed to my goal. I committed to sending humans into space, committed to creating a cleaner air world, committed to changing how we move on this planet. That was a strong commitment, a commitment to never give up despite all challenges. If you can commit to your goals, you'll see yourself overcoming great obstacles, not because you're perfect, but because you don't give up. Perfection will never come if you don't act. And action will only begin when you commit, when you are determined to pursue the goal to the end, despite the challenges. Life is not always easy, and you will face many failures on your path, but commitment will help you overcome it all. Commitment doesn't mean doing everything perfectly. Commitment just means you don't give up. You will learn, you will improve, and you will keep moving forward every day. I never waited for everything to be perfect before acting. I committed to my big goals and didn't quit when faced with difficulties. If you do the same, you'll create a strong foundation for long-term success. Commitment is the key. When you commit, you're not just pursuing your goal, you're building a strong, resilient, and motivated lifestyle. Commitment isn't something hard. It's about clearly defining your goal and deciding to pursue it. When you commit, you'll realize that nothing is impossible. You don't need to be perfect. Just commit to acting every day. That's the road to success, and that's what I've learned throughout my journey. Every day is a new opportunity. This is a truth I have always believed throughout my journey. Life, work, and the goals you pursue are not things that will come easily. They require continuous effort, perseverance, and the understanding that each day is an opportunity to get closer to what you want to achieve. I never consider a day to be just another day. Every day is an opportunity to move forward, to improve, to experiment, and to learn. When I started SpaceX, I didn't have a perfect plan. Nothing was simple. Everything was a huge challenge. But I didn't view the difficulties as insurmountable obstacles. I saw them as opportunities to experiment, learn, and improve. Every day I looked at it as a new opportunity to do better than the day before, to overcome a challenge, to move forward. Every challenge, whether a failure or a success, brought a valuable lesson, and I never missed the opportunity to learn from each lesson. The same with Tesla. When we started producing electric cars, we faced criticism, skepticism, and many difficulties. But instead of blaming circumstances, I viewed each day as an opportunity to improve the product, solve problems, and prove that we could create a reliable electric car. The early days of Tesla weren't easy, but I focused on each small detail and took advantage of every day to do the best I could. Every day was an opportunity to improve, even if we didn't see the results immediately, but that's how we achieved great things. In work and in life, it's easy to get caught up in the failures or challenges in front of you. You may feel like nothing is changing, everything is still the same, and you can't see progress. But the truth is, every day you live, you are creating an opportunity for change. Even when things don't go as planned, you can still choose to face them and make the most of the opportunity. How you view each day can determine how you move forward. If you view each day as an opportunity, you will never feel lost or directionless. I remember when we failed in SpaceX's tests. Many people thought we would give up, but I didn't see failure as the end, but as an opportunity to try again. Every time a rocket fell, we didn't just look at the reason for failure, but also figured out how to improve, to retest, and to do better. Every failure was an opportunity to get closer to our goal. And with each retry, we gathered more data, more experience to keep moving forward. Looking back, I realized that the opportunities created from failures helped us achieve ultimate success. This also applies to my work at Tesla. From the start, I didn't wait for everything to be perfect. We faced constant issues with production, product quality problems, but I never saw that as the end. Every issue was an opportunity to improve the process, improve the product, and build a stronger system. The difficult early days were just stepping stones for us to grow stronger later. Every time we faced a problem, we found a way to solve it. That's how I viewed and faced challenges. To achieve a big goal, you can't just look for immediate results. Every day is an opportunity to progress, even if just a little. You will never see big change right away, but if you view every day as an opportunity to improve, you will see yourself getting closer to your goal. Big successes don't come from one big push, but from the result of persistent efforts every day. And I will never stop seizing every opportunity to improve. Think about what you can do every day to get closer to your goal. It could be a new lesson, an important call, or simply keeping your commitment to yourself. These small actions, though they may not create big change immediately, build a solid foundation for long-term success. Every day is an opportunity to do something better than yesterday. If you can seize these small opportunities every day, you'll be amazed at the results you achieve in the long term. The difference between successful people and those who are not is how they view each day. Successful people don't wait for big opportunities. They seize each day as an opportunity to improve, to experiment, and to learn. They don't wait for everything to be perfect before acting. They act right now, as soon as they have the opportunity, even if it's small or imperfect. And that action, however small, will make a big difference in the future. Remember that every day is an opportunity to get closer to your goal, to improve, to challenge yourself, and to learn. There is no day that is meaningless. Every day brings an opportunity for you to become a better version of yourself, and if you seize every opportunity, you will find yourself moving farther and stronger, not only in work, but also in life. Make each day a little better. This is how I view the journey of personal development and success in my work. Everything begins with one simple decision: to make each day a little better. It may seem simple, but in reality, it's the commitment to continuous improvement that creates the big difference over time. Big changes never come from a big push or a leap, but from doing small things every day that gradually create profound change. When I started with SpaceX, I didn't have all the answers, nor did I have a perfect plan. Everything started with small steps. From improving each detail, we began with testing, failing, and then learning from those failures. But the important thing was that, despite failures, we never gave up. We committed to improving. Every retry was an opportunity to do better. Every day we set a goal to improve something, even if it was small. And it was thanks to these improvements that we later achieved great success. Similarly, when I built Tesla, I didn't wait until everything was perfect to act. I always remembered that perfection wasn't the most important thing. Commitment to improve every day was. Tesla's first cars were not perfect, but they were the first step in our long journey. What mattered was that every day we improved the product, improved production processes, and improved customer service. These small improvements accumulated and gradually made the cars we see today as a symbol of innovation in the auto industry. All progress begins with small actions. Successful people are not those who do something perfectly from the start, but those who persist in improving each day. They don't wait for perfection, they act and improve bit by bit. And that's what makes the difference. The difference doesn't come from big strides, but from perseverance and steady effort, day by day. To make each day a little better, you need a clear plan and a strong commitment to yourself. You don't need to change everything in one day. What you need to do is improve something small in your life every day. It could be improving your work habits, learning a new skill, or simply spending a little more time thinking and planning for the future. These changes, though small, will make a big difference over time. One thing I've learned over the years is that you can't just focus on big results and ignore the small steps. Every step, even if it doesn't bring immediate results, is an important part of the journey. No one can achieve great success without going through challenges and failures. It's those challenges, along with improving each day, that create the great achievements later. When you look back, you will realize that it's the small things you do each day that lead you to where you want to be. Every day is an opportunity for you to do something better. If you make each day a little better, whether in work, personal life, or any field, you will see change not just in the results, but in yourself. You'll realize that every day you're getting closer to your goal, and these small steps will lead you to successes you never imagined. You don't need to wait until you feel ready, or until you have all the necessary elements. What matters is that you act now, and that action can start from small things. Don't focus too much on perfection. Start by improving each day. Progress will come from your persistence and continuous improvement. A little each day will create a big difference over time. What I want to emphasize here is the commitment to continuous improvement. Perfection is not the ultimate goal, but the ongoing process of improvement. When you commit to this process, you will notice significant changes in yourself. You will become stronger, more determined, and more confident, and you will see that in the end, the big goals you set will no longer seem distant, because you've made each day a little better. Look at what you can do each day to improve yourself. It could be a small decision at work, a new habit in your life, or a small step in learning and skill development. These changes, though small, will have a huge impact over time. Don't think you have to do something huge to succeed. The important thing is that you improve each day, even if just a little. So don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait until you think everything is perfect. Act now and make each day a little better. Every small action will create a big difference over time. And when you persist with this, you'll see that not only are you getting closer to your goal, but you're also becoming a better version of yourself. Don't wait for motivation to start acting. This is a mistake I see many people make, especially in fields that require creativity, perseverance, and persistence. People often think that to begin working, they need to feel motivated. But in reality, motivation is not something you can wait for. It doesn't come before you take action. True motivation comes after you start acting. I can tell you about the early days when I built SpaceX and Tesla. Those days weren't easy, and I didn't always feel motivated. Every day we faced countless challenges, from a lack of resources, to skepticism from industry experts, to failures that many thought were insurmountable. But I didn't wait until I felt ready or motivated. I acted, and only then did motivation start to appear. When I started SpaceX, I didn't always feel motivated. Everyone doubted our abilities, and there were times I felt it was very tough. But I didn't wait for motivation to come. Instead, I took action, and from that action, motivation followed. We faced failure, but we didn't give up. Every retry, every lesson learned from our mistakes was the motivation that kept me and my team moving forward. This is also true with Tesla. When we started, no one thought electric cars could become a viable choice for the mass market. We faced many failures and difficulties, but instead of waiting for motivation, we acted immediately. We worked hard to improve every detail, from the engine to the design and battery systems. And with each improvement, we felt the motivation come from the results we created. It was the actions that generated motivation, not the other way around. The way I see motivation is this. It's not something that comes before action, but a result of action. Motivation is not a starting factor. It's something that emerges during the process of working. You can't just sit and wait for motivation to come before you work. You must act first, and motivation will follow. If you wait for motivation to come before you start, you'll never begin. We can't live in a world where everything has to feel great before we start working. Most important tasks and major changes require persistence and continuous action, even when you don't feel motivated. When I built SpaceX and Tesla, there were times I felt exhausted, tired, and even frustrated. But I didn't wait for motivation to take action. I acted even without motivation. And then, after each step, motivation naturally appeared. One important thing is that you have to start doing, even if it's just a small step. Don't wait until you feel ready or fully motivated. Motivation doesn't come from waiting, but from the actions you take. Start right now, even if you don't feel motivated, even if you haven't prepared everything. Start and let the actions create motivation for you. I know that sometimes starting a project or pursuing a big goal can be very difficult. The early days are always the biggest challenge, when you don't see results and sometimes feel unmotivated. But I encourage you, don't wait for motivation to come. Motivation will appear when you start acting, when you begin to see progress, even if it's very small. Take action today, and motivation will come afterward. You might think that you need to feel perfect, feel motivated, feel like you have all the necessary factors before taking action. But the truth is, you will never feel completely ready. Don't wait until you feel ready to act. Take action now, and motivation will come as you move forward. Motivation is not a starting factor, it's something you can create from your actions. The key is not to let the lack of motivation stop you. Don't let the feeling of being unmotivated cause you to stop. When I started SpaceX and Tesla, many times I felt unmotivated. But I didn't wait. I acted immediately. And motivation gradually appeared as I moved forward every day. Just act. Even if it's a small step, you will see motivation follow. When you don't wait for motivation, you'll be surprised to realize you can accomplish more than you thought. Remember, motivation is something you create. It's not something to wait for. You can't just sit and wait for motivation to come. You must act to create it. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start right now, and motivation will follow. Motivation is not something you can plan, but the result of continuous action. So don't wait for motivation. Act now and let motivation appear when you start. Don't wait for the feeling of being motivated. Take action and build trust. This is one of the perspectives I've learned from my experience in building SpaceX, Tesla, and other projects. The feeling of motivation doesn't always come when you need it. On the contrary, if you wait for that feeling to start acting, you'll be greatly disappointed and miss out on important opportunities. The truth is, action itself is what creates motivation. Trust in yourself, in the work you're doing, and in your abilities doesn't emerge naturally. You need to build it through daily actions from the first steps. When I started SpaceX, no one believed we could succeed. We faced countless failures, and the people around me were skeptical of our ability to achieve big goals. But I didn't wait for the feeling of motivation to start. I took action even when I didn't feel fully ready. There was never a moment I felt perfectly prepared for those big challenges. What mattered was that I took action despite the doubts and lack of motivation at the start. And through each action, little by little, I built trust in myself and in the goal I was pursuing. Trust doesn't come from perfection or immediate results. Trust comes from acting every day and knowing that even the smallest step is bringing you closer to your goal. The feeling of motivation, trust in what you're doing, can only be built when you start acting, even when you don't feel inspired. When I started with Tesla, we faced many difficulties. Most people didn't believe electric cars could succeed. But I didn't wait for motivation. I started acting, and from that action, my trust in the future of the company began to form. One thing I've learned is that trust doesn't come naturally from temporary emotions. Instead, it comes from relentless action and persistence. Sometimes, I might feel tired. I might feel like I have no motivation to continue. But the important thing is, I never stop acting. Every action, no matter how small, has value. And it's these actions that create a strong belief in what I'm doing. When I think about the journey of SpaceX and Tesla, I realize that the challenges we overcame were not luck, but the result of never stopping, even when motivation didn't show up. Trust isn't something that can be built in one day, but if you keep acting, you'll gradually see it grow stronger. I didn't wait until I felt completely confident or until everything became easy. The important decisions, like investing in Tesla when everyone told me not to, or continuing to test SpaceX after several failures, came from acting without having all the answers. That's how you build trust, continuous action, despite uncertainty, and understanding that every failure is a lesson. We all face moments of self-doubt when motivation doesn't show up and everything seems dim. But if you wait for motivation first, you'll never achieve anything. The truth is, trust in yourself doesn't come from feeling ready, but from continuously acting and learning from real experiences. Start working right now, even when you don't feel completely ready. Action today will build trust for tomorrow. When I started, I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know if SpaceX could succeed or if Tesla would become a major name in the car industry, but I committed to acting and improving every day. Even without strong motivation from the start, I acted because I believed it was the only way forward. And gradually, each step reinforced my trust in the path I was following. Small actions accumulate over time, building a solid foundation, giving me enough trust to continue despite all challenges. You can apply this principle in your own life. Don't wait for the feeling of motivation before you start acting. Start acting right now, and trust will follow. You don't need to be perfect to start, and you don't need to feel ready to act. Action will create motivation, and motivation will help you continue going further. What matters is your commitment to act starting now. Don't wait for perfection to begin. Take action, learn from mistakes, and grow from there. And when you act every day, you'll see that trust in your abilities will continue to grow. You'll realize that you don't need to feel fully motivated to work, you just need to act, and trust in what you're doing will appear. Challenges and difficulties aren't obstacles, they are opportunities for you to grow, learn, and build stronger trust in yourself. Remember, you don't need to wait for motivation to act. Action is what creates motivation and trust. Start acting right now, and let action guide you to success. Progress comes from repeated actions. This is a truth I've learned through years of experience building SpaceX, Tesla, and other projects. You won't achieve great success immediately, but through each repeated action, progress will gradually emerge. This is how I built a solid foundation for my companies, despite facing numerous challenges, from a lack of resources to skepticism from many sides. The key to success is persistence, doing something repeatedly until you get better, stronger, and smarter. When I started SpaceX, we failed many times. Each time we failed, we didn't give up, but saw it as an opportunity to improve. You can't build a reusable rocket from the first attempt, or the second, or even the third. Every retry was a repeated action, but with each one we gradually improved, learned, and made progress. Failure isn't the end, it's an opportunity to start over, to do better. Through repetition, we gradually understood each small detail of the technology, which ultimately led to success. This is also how we worked at Tesla. When we produced our first electric cars, we faced many difficulties. The first cars were far from perfect, and we had to change and improve every detail. Repeated actions, whether improving the battery system or upgrading the engine, were the stepping stones that helped us build better, more refined cars. Each repetition wasn't a setback, but a small step forward. These small changes, though seemingly insignificant, gradually created a big difference. One important thing I want to share is that progress doesn't come from sudden changes, but from persistence, from repeating meaningful actions. You won't see big change after just a few days of work. However, if you do it persistently every day, each small action will gradually create a big change. It's persistence and repeating the right actions that will help you make significant progress. The way I see it is, if you keep doing valuable actions every day, you'll develop very quickly, even if you feel your efforts aren't enough. The truth is, every action is contributing to creating positive change in your life and work. Small, repeated actions every day are the stepping stones that bring you closer to your ultimate goal. Every day I spend time working with my team to improve products, whether from SpaceX or Tesla. Every day I learn from failures and improve. Failures aren't the end, they're part of the process. The repeated actions of finding solutions and improving technology have helped me and my team make steady progress. Progress comes from such repeated actions. and that's what I want you to understand. You don't need to wait for a breakthrough to succeed. The small actions you repeat every day are the key to creating big changes. Persistence and repeated action help you build a strong habit. When you do something many times, you automatically improve and do better. What matters is not that you're perfect from the start, but that you need to start and continue acting, even if it's small steps. If you persist in doing it repeatedly, you'll see yourself improve every day. That's why I always emphasize the importance of persistence. Don't wait for a big push or a sudden change. Focus on continuous action, even the smallest steps. One thing I've learned through building my companies is that you can't complete a big project in one day. But if you persist, work every day, and don't give up, you'll gradually achieve your goal. The important thing is not big changes immediately, but the continuous small steps. It's these repeated actions that help you create deep, lasting change. Think about what you want to achieve in your life and work. You can't achieve success with one big leap, but you must start with small, continuous actions. Every day is an opportunity to work with persistence and repeat your actions. It's this repetition that will help you develop and progress every day. You don't need to feel motivated immediately. Take action, repeat the small tasks, and you'll see continuous progress. Repeated actions are the foundation of all change. You don't need to be perfect from the start. You just need to start and keep doing. That's how my team and I overcame challenges and failures to achieve great accomplishments. And I believe that if you persist with your actions every day, you too will achieve wonderful things. Every day, every small action, even though it doesn't create immediate change, is an important step on the long road. Don't wait for a big result. Focus on the small actions. Repeat it every day. It's this repetition that will help you progress leaps and bounds and achieve success. Progress doesn't come from a big leap, but from consistently doing meaningful actions every day. You don't need to be perfect, just move forward every day. This is a principle I've followed throughout my entrepreneurial journey, whether in building SpaceX, Tesla, or any project I've been involved in. I never waited for everything to be perfect before acting. I took action immediately and improved every day. What I've learned is that perfection is not the deciding factor for success, but the ability to persist, improve, and continuously progress. When I started SpaceX, no one thought we could succeed. Continuous rocket testing failures made many people skeptical, but I knew that waiting for perfection would only keep me stuck. If I didn't act and persist, SpaceX would have no chance to grow and succeed. I didn't wait for everything to be perfect, I just moved forward every day. Every failure wasn't the end, but a step forward, an opportunity to improve, to learn from mistakes, and to keep going. This was also true for Tesla. When I started with electric cars, the automotive industry was still dominated by fossil fuel vehicles. People doubted the viability of electric cars and our ability to change the industry. But I didn't wait for all the perfect elements to act. I began, and from there I continuously improved every day. Tesla didn't become a famous brand immediately, but every day we moved closer to our goal. I've learned that not waiting for perfection and moving forward each day is the only way to achieve great things. When you wait for perfection, you're only delaying your actions and missing opportunities. None of us can achieve perfection from the start. But if you keep improving, you'll see that you've made significant progress over time. Perfection is a vague concept that you'll never grasp if you just stand still and wait. Success doesn't come from doing everything perfectly. It comes from persistence, from continuous improvement, and from taking action despite challenges. That's why I always emphasize the importance of taking action every day. Every day is an opportunity to move forward, to improve yourself, and to achieve your goals. Small changes every day will create a big difference later on. You don't need to do everything perfectly from the start. You just need to move forward step by step, and eventually you'll achieve great things. Perfection may make you feel that everything must be thoroughly prepared, with all factors ready before acting. But the truth is, you can never be fully prepared. The things you think you need aren't always right. What matters most is that you act. And when you act, you'll see that the problems you face are not failures, but opportunities to learn, improve, and continue. Every day is an opportunity to do something better, to keep improving and never stop. I never waited for everything to be perfect. In my work, I faced many challenges, from managing finances to developing technology. But instead of waiting for perfection, I focused on moving forward every day. When SpaceX failed, we didn't give up. When Tesla faced difficulties, we didn't quit. We just kept improving, learning, and working hard every day. It was this persistence that helped us overcome all obstacles and achieve great accomplishments. So how do you not just wait, but actually move forward every day? The key is to have a clear goal and commit to continuous improvement. If you only focus on the difficulties without focusing on the next step, you'll get stuck in doubt and disappointment. But if you persist, even if each day is only a small step, you'll notice the change over time. You don't need to achieve a big goal immediately. You just need to ensure that every day you're making progress, even if it's just a little. When I look back on my journey, I realized that great successes didn't come from big leaps, but from persistence every day. You can't see results immediately, but if you work hard and persist, you'll see that each day you move closer to your goal. Success is not the result of one single decision or a special action, but the result of persistence and continuous action. The work I do every day isn't always easy, but I know that if I keep acting, I'll get closer to my goal. Perfection isn't what I'm aiming for. Moving forward every day, improving little by little, is what matters. That's how I built SpaceX and Tesla. This applies to any goal you want to achieve in life. You don't need to be perfect immediately, you just need to be persistent and move forward every day. Perfection is something you can never achieve if you just stand still and wait. You have to act, improve, learn, and continue moving forward. That's the only way to achieve great things in life and work. Don't wait until you feel ready or until everything is perfect. Act now, and from there you see yourself progress over time.